If viewers want to find out more about suicide prevention, where should they look? Whom should they contact?
It is all right to ask about suicide, and Mind and Samaritans have some really nice resources about phrases that you might use. And of course, the Zero Suicide Alliance training that we mentioned. I've also talked about Hub of Hope if you wanted to start thinking about the referral pathways. We conducted another study about supporting people with their mental health in pharmacy, which was called the Amplify study. And in that, the 10 pharmacists that participated, they did the Zero Suicide Alliance training, but they also came up, they worked in groups for people that were lived in the locality, and they came up with their referral pathways, and they really found the Hub of Hope website useful. So that's something that I'd encourage people to look at. And I have worked in the past with the Centre for Pharmacy Postgraduate Education in England, CPPE, and we did a suicide awareness video. So it was an on the sofa style interview about exploring what this role could be, including some personal stories. So hopefully people would find that useful to support these other things we've talked about.
That's all very helpful. Of course, these kind of discussions can be quite demanding. Are there any steps that pharmacists or members of pharmacy teams need to take to look after themselves?
You can do sort of all this preparation and training, but actually it still probably will take you by surprise if you find yourself in that situation having to talk to someone. So it's also important to think about how you look after yourself afterwards and build any appropriate debriefing, perhaps identify someone you could talk to about that.
Now, I understand that antidepressants are going to be included in the NMS, the New Medicines Service, from April 2023. Is this going to be a help in this context?
I'm really pleased to see antidepressants included in the New Medicine Service. Until now, there haven't been any medicines for mental health conditions included in the service. And I know the pharmacy world seems to be quite pleased about this. We will therefore have people that we know have a diagnosis of anxiety or depression, amongst other things, that we have the opportunity to have these in-depth conversations with. So actually, it's important to make sure we have these skills. As I said before, many people might be thinking about suicide, so we want to be careful in terms of this risk factor word, but actually we do know that having a mental health problem increases one's risk of suicide. So having these sort of phrases and being ready to have the conversations about suicide is really important. I also mentioned the Amplify study, which we did, which was looking at, well, the pharmacists in it kind of called it an NMS plus, even though it wasn't designed in that way. It was looking at different changes of dose or changes of antidepressant or new antidepressant. And we've got some learnings from that study that can be considered as the New Medicine Service is implemented. And that's the service I was saying, that the pharmacists actually use this Hub of Hope as an important reference source, amongst other things.
So, in fact, this will provide a reason for talking to people who've recently been prescribed antidepressants in more depth.
One of the difficulties in mental health epidemiology and looking at medicines and risk is that actually, by definition of being prescribed something, someone's condition has probably got worse. So these people are in a position where they actually might need some extra support. Antidepressants can take up to 6 weeks to work. I'd like to see the New Medicine Service extended to enable that coverage. Actually, if it stays at the 4-week mark, what happens to those people that perhaps are not getting the benefit from the medicines, but are about to get the benefit from the medicines? And if we follow them up a little bit more intensely, would that be helpful?
Important point. Let's hope the policymakers are listening. And finally, are you the only pharmacist with an interest in suicide prevention, or are there others?
I'm not the only one. There are, in terms of people that research this area, there is quite a select group across the world, but we're very open to other people joining in. And of course, there are pharmacists working in day-to-day practice that will have an interest in suicide prevention. I am a co-chair of the International Association for Suicide Prevention Special Interest Group on suicide prevention in primary care. So I'm the pharmacist representative on that group. And I've been very kindly linked with pharmacists across the world, particularly through my Churchill Fellowship, which enabled me to go and visit some folk in Canada, particularly Andrew Murphy and David Gardner. And through them, one of the other really esteemed researchers, Claire O'Reilly in Australia, and also some colleagues in the USA. It was hosted by Professor Jill Levine. And yes, we're all linked now. And actually what you can see from the research is that we are coming up with very similar things. But all the research has been done in high-income countries, yet over 3/4 of suicides in the world occur in low and middle-income countries. So actually that's a really important gap. One of my PhD students, Somtochike Obuke, is starting to look at this in the Nigerian context, where they're a registered pharmacist, to understand actually how does this apply across different systems where the healthcare systems and the climate's different.
Dr. Hayley Gorton, thank you very much for sharing your experiences and insights with us today. That really has been terrifically interesting. For more information about Dr. Gorton's work, please visit our website using the link in the description, and be sure to subscribe for more news, videos and journals. For updates straight to your inbox, please follow the link below. And thanks for watching.